Hmm.
Hi, team. This is Patti Napolitano with Wellness Cleveland, and I am joined by my friends, esteemed colleagues, Mickey Anderson, Tracy Davison, and Michael Plays. We are studying for our ASWB um, exam, and this is one of the free ones I got. Have you all gotten the free emails yet? The onslaught of free practice tests?
No.
I hashtag it on YouTube, so the algorithm is finding me, and I've been having these free ones sent. So today, this is one I have not tried, and we've tried a few today that were like one question or four questions, and you get to the end and get them. Um, Today's practice brought to you by our promotion is the Metanoia Project, which is a hospitality shelter here in Northeast Ohio that is open when it's below 22 degrees. So the open season is November, middle of November to middle of March, and they target people who live outside and usually are the longest stayers. So people who will not come to a shelter no matter what, no matter how cold. We have street outreach workers who work all summer long, meeting people, offering water, offering clean socks, and trying to engage people in a hospitality model, which is 10 to 15 people stay at a church or at a storefront that rents us their space for overnight stays only. So we have a golf outing coming up Friday, June 28th with a 10 a.m. tea time, and we are going to just feed people until they explode. We have donuts, we have breakfast, we have snacks, we have lunch. Two of our committee members, and Brian and Sue, make sandwiches the night before for the box lunches at the turn, and we'll have some lovely catering and very fun prizes. So to learn more, metanoiaproject.org. We will be linking it in the comments below. Now, ASWB, prostate exam, ready? So these are questions for people who are planning on taking the clinical, which is the most common test that people want to take because advanced generalist we think is harder. The clinical, we have our lovely mnemonics that we love for what we do first and what we do best, but we also have these kind of questions. So number one, what would you do? Or what are you working on? Which role are you brokering? You're working as a medical case manager for a 65-year-old male client named David, who recently had knee surgery. David is leaving the hospital next week and is going to be recovering from home. He's been attending physical therapy, but he will not be able to walk on his own or go upstairs. You schedule home health care workers to check his home environment for any risks. After the assessment, you arrange for David to get a walker, a chairlift, and a local agency to deliver the food while he recovers. Which aspect of case management are you focusing on? So these are which case management needs are we addressing with the interventions and services we have brokered? Social, health, safety, or none of the above? Michael, what do you think?
I was gonna say safety till I saw the food delivery, so I'm almost wondering if it's health. Hmm.
Yeah, why don't we have a multiple choices here?
What do you think, Mick?
I'm gonna go with safety because he's not. If he tries to get up and cook for himself, that would be a challenge.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with
I'm on the cusp. For one thing, he's 65 and I'm thinking adult protective services workers, which is 61 and over, right? And they're not asking, are you safe at home? So that to me is safety, but definitely these are safety concerns about their ability to get up and down. But I think I like where Michael's at too, that it is a health, it is basic
that's
needs.
true. That is true.
So the hospital discharge planner and me, so what they had the home care workers do, that thing is called a home safety evaluation.
Ooh.
So
All right, groupthink. I'm going with the expert here. We got it correct. You are focused on the safety of the patient and their home environment. Making sure the patient has appropriate accommodations to recover in their home includes walkers, chair lifts, shower bars, seats, and more. Safety is top priority for case managers and social workers with vulnerable patients. And Michael, to your point, they don't even talk about the food, do they? Convenient. Okay. You are, number 2, you are conducting a research study that involves pregnant mothers and their babies. I have a problem with the first sentence already. Okay. Most of the study is focused on measuring changes in the mother's mood, attitudes, and behaviors during the pregnancy. However, you will also take measurements of the fetus. There's some medical terminology, including the heart rate, ultrasound images, monitor movement, and growth of the fetus. You must get the permission of the mother and father for this research study. When a pregnant mother is going to participate in a research study that involves the fetus, the researcher must get permission of both parents. This is known as legally effective informed consent, assent, parental permission, or informed consent.
Informed.
It's not assent, I'll tell you that one off the rip, because assent is a person under the age of 18 telling you that they're voluntarily participating to the best of their understanding when they don't have, and you don't have that here. The fetus does not get a yay or a nay.
Legally effective.
None of these say patriarchy, so I think this is a trick question. There's no accurate answer here. The researcher must get permission of both parents. That, to me, the words right in it, if we stay close,
Parental permission.
parental permission. When you're confused, stay close. Let's try it. I'm so scared. They made up another
Legally
word.
effective informed consent. What is legally
Yeah,
effective informed consent?
I was gonna say, I was feeling like it would have been one of the informed consents just because it's in a research study. But I've never heard of legally effective informed consent.
I was wondering legally effective just because it's so.
It's so redundant. What a useless couple of words at the beginning. Good job, CSWE and ASWB. Must have been someone getting a PhD on it. Oh, look, it's a research term.
Oh, okay. So if you read the explanation, it says that the researcher must get the permission of both parents. If the mother is going to participate in the research study that does not involve the fetus, then the father does not have to consent. Okay. Interesting.
I just want to point out that that's not what happens during my living children's medical calls. Never has a doctor said, but we have to call the father because this is their child too, just FYI. Okay. Informed consent is when the counselor provides client with information about the counseling process, benefits, and limitations so they can make an informed decision about whether or not they want to participate in the counseling process. Parental permission is when a parent must consent for a young child to participate in a research study. So those are terms we're familiar with. When a child is old enough to understand some of the research studies, then it is expected for the researcher to obtain assent or the child's agreement to participate. But this is its own thing. Legally effective informed consent.
So is legally effective just pertain to pregnancy?
It pertains to research studies. And so the legally effective informed consent is because both parents have to give permission for a child to be in a research study, not medical treatment, a research study. Okay, which of the following is a characteristic teachers and parents should look for when trying to identify if a child has autism spectrum disorder? We know this one. The child does not make eye contact when speaking or listening to someone. That's A. B, the child completes certain tasks ritualistically and becomes upset if they cannot do this certain task in their own way. C, the child has a short attention span and begins to fidget during a longer lesson. Or D, the child struggles to correctly identify letters while they are reading. So Mickey, you are someone who is self-proclaimed does not work with kids. Do any of these jump out at you as obviously being something else?
Oh, yes, short attention span,
Okay, so that one seems like what to you?
ADHD.
Okay, Michael, as someone who self-proclaimed does not work with kids, is there any of these that jumps out as not autism spectrum disorder?
I mean, I would assume that most children do have short attention spans, and after a while they begin to fidget, because as an adult, I have short attention spans and find myself fidgeting as well.
I am currently fidgeting with a paperclip and rocking in my chair during this. No worries. Tracy, any of these that you feel like you can rule out as something else?
The child struggles to correctly identify letters while they're reading.
Yeah, that seems like a learning specifically that looks like dyslexia. So it looks like
Mhm.
ADHD and dyslexia we can rule out. Now the other two. Are there either of those seem more like autism spectrum disorder or more like something else?
Is more like autism spectrum disorder, based on my experience.
Which one does?
The child completes certain tasks ritualistically and becomes upset if they cannot do this certain task in their own way. It reminds me of my nephew.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of a lot of people I know with autism. I feel like the eye contact is like a glaring one for autism, but I also feel like that could be something else.
And that can also be cultural eye contact.
Very nice.
Anxiety.
Mhm. All right, we're gonna go ritualistically. See what they say. Ah,
Absolutely not.
right. We had too many ideas. We had too many ideas.
We just did too much. Huh. We did so much thinking.
Yeah, I think the ritualistically, what they're going for is that might be a kid who's anxious.
Okay.
So OCD,
Or
we understand obsessive compulsive disorder to be an exacerbation of anxiety disorders. And when folks are anxious and their anxiety is in an acute phase, they have more compulsions and things, more obsessions, which are things we think about, and compulsions, which are things that we do and we can't stop.
okay, that's fair. Yeah, I think for me, like my nephew likes things to be ritualistic. Like it's he does better with structure. So if things are
Absolutely.
not structured, that's
Mhm.
when he gets triggered and he might have behaviors and stuff. Whereas he's very ritualistic in what he eats and what he does and what he watches on TV and all that stuff. But no, I get that.
All right. For which of the following is not a trait associated with an addictive personality trait or type? A, extroversion, B, focused, C, impulsivity, or D, nonconformity. I couldn't say. I couldn't say. I feel like addictive personality types, impulsivity, like that sounds like it tracks.
And their
My-
focus probably just on,
Right?
right? So nonconformity.
I want to say extroversion because I feel like majority of people aren't extrovert. I don't know. That's where my mind goes.
Trace is like, those extroverts are so weird.
Us?
I feel
Yeah,
like a caricature of an addictive personality trait would be someone who's very outgoing, impulsive, and non-conforming, like pathological demand avoidance. Those are my guesses.
I would agree with that.
Okay, focus, huh?
I feel like when I think focus, I think humorously, like you ain't gonna stop a crackhead from getting it done, right? But that's like not generally what we mean from an executive functioning standpoint on focus.
Mm.
See, that's where
Ambitious.
my mind went.
I feel I don't agree with this. Okay. Ambition and focus traits are associated with type A personality, which is not related, not strongly correlated with addiction. Okay. Impulsivity, extroversion, and valuing nonconformity are all traits associated with an addictive personality type. Oh, this is 15 years long. It's only 15 questions. Okay, 5. You're working with a young single mother named Leanne, who has two-year-old twin daughters. She recently lost her job, was kicked out of the house she was renting, and can't afford food for her daughters. You help her by giving her resources for food assistance and a local food pantry. You give her information about housing assistance for single mothers and traditional housing. This can take time and she doesn't have anywhere to stay tonight. Leanne doesn't have the support of any family members, so you offer your guest bedroom for a couple of nights until she can find housing.
Mm-mm.
Whew, we're going down a path. There are several common themes that have been identified in determining when ethical or professional boundaries are crossed by social workers. Which of the following themes is an issue in this scenario? A, altruistic gestures that are professionally inappropriate or unethical. B, one person pursuing gain or benefit from the other. C, emotional or dependency needs. Or D, intimate relationship with a client. So do we feel like you are pursuing gain or benefit from Leanne, or Leanne is pursuing gain or benefit from you?
No, I
No.
mean,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe her. Well, maybe, but no, wouldn't go with that one.
That's not the primary theme, I think. Intimate relationship with the client does not sound intimate.
No.
Emotional or dependency needs, maybe, but this is not like, if we're staying close, this is not highly emotional case, right? Nothing is expressed that is emotional. Altruistic gestures that are professionally inappropriate or unethical, I think sounds like it. Because I would let a friend stay on my couch, maybe, right? But professionally, no. It's altruistic, but inappropriate.
Very good.
It is inappropriate in all capital letters to let a client come and stay at your house, even if you have their best interest in mind. Instead, the social worker should offer other community resources. And let me tell you, when I went to school in the 90s, professors told stories about their coworkers letting runaway kids sleep in their basement and having flop houses. And like, it was a real epidemic of a problem in social work. So when we say social workers have done wrong, social workers have done something like this a lot. A counselor is meeting a client for the first time. When the client arrives, the counselor should first conduct an intake interview, require the client to identify anticipated treatments and outcomes, administer a mental status exam, or provide the client with background information to build a trusting relationship. What do we think, folks?
Conduct an intake interview.
Oh, intake interview for
We
sure.
did not read this earlier.
I was
We
thinking
did
of
not
mental
read.
status exam.
Right? Will you think mental status exam? Because, ma'am, on every single assessment you've done, it's at the top.
That's fair.
Check in how everyone does on the mental status
Do they
exam.
look? How do they look? What's everything that's going on in the intake?
Yeah, we feel like it's provide the client with background information to maybe that is supposed to be built into an intake interview. The intake interview is the first clinical interview that the counselor and client will do the first time the counselor meets the client. The interview will help the counselor to understand why the client is visiting and understand any disclosed history that might impact the client's issues. So remember, folks, it's about them. Okay, which of the following terms would an evolutionary psychologist, who we are not, an evolutionary psychologist used to describe an innate behavior or tendency in a species? Instinct, natural selection, development, or Darwinism?
Instinct.
feel like
That's
it's
what I'm thinking, instinct.
Darwinism is like a theory.
Hmm.
Yay, we win. According to evolutionary psychologists, and some behaviors, actions, or traits called instincts help infants to process information about the world around them in certain ways, and these instincts helped individuals survive. This idea aligns with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, in which the beneficial traits that help an individual survive and reproduce are passed down to the next generation. However, instincts were not invented by Charles Darwin, just to be clear. In what year was the Violence Against Women Act passed? I don't know this one.
I have no idea.
Say 87.
Oh. 98, 94? 87.
I'm gonna say
Let's just say
87.
I want
87.
to say the 90s.
Americans with Disabilities didn't pass until 93, so I don't think we cared about women first, but 1994.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it had to be like in the 90s. I don't think that.
Wow.
This
That's
act aids law enforcement in dealing with domestic abuse calls, including protocols to keep the survivor of abuse safe. So it probably was the Supreme Court outcome, right?
I don't know why I have higher hopes about this country.
Which
And
type
women.
of feminism? 1994. I have to remember that. I was in high school. Okay. Which type of feminism focuses on creating equality amongst genders in current structures and primarily advocates through political and legal reform? Radical feminism, liberal feminism, socialist feminism, or contemporary feminism? I feel like radical feminism is not advocating through political and legal reform, and they're not talking about within the current structures.
No. No.
I feel like socialists wouldn't either.
I'm gonna say-
Mhm.
I feel like either liberal or
Yeah.
contemporary.
I'm gonna go liberal.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, we got it. Feminism, allegedly, is a movement led by women that seeks to end sexism. We don't always include all women in our feminism, do we? Feminism is a movement led by women that seeks to end sexism. Liberal feminism is one specific type of feminism whose aim is to reform politics and law in order to obtain equality amongst genders within our current structures. Okay, 10. If a person is trying to identify the syndrome, the person will seek to identify A, the rate of transmission and infection, B, signs and symptoms associated with that ailment, C, underlying issues not associated with any particular illness, or D, environmental influences that may provoke a sickness.
I'm confused.
I don't feel like if we're looking for a syndrome, we're not looking for an environmental influence, right? Bertolotti syndrome is a syndrome where someone's spine is pressured on a growth plate and there's an extra bone that grows out of it. That is environmental, right? This syndrome is produced by that, but we're looking for signs and symptoms, I think.
What I think. So.
Syndromes are combinations of signs and symptoms that makes up an illness or disease.
What does it have to do with social work?
Uh-huh.
We assess people, we assess mental illnesses, we assess disorders. I think disorders are a syndrome. I think they're similar.
But we don't use that terminology, so.
We do not. The person and environment theory includes the following 3 steps, except an individual's environment and influences, assess an individual. This is 2 steps. Assess an individual's environment and, oh, 3 out of 4. Sorry, I was very confused by that. Seek to improve environments and influences. Consider past experiences and analyze an individual's inner world. Identify how influence impact an individual. I feel like influences is the key word in all of those, and person and environment, you're talking about what is the water that this person is floating in and how do we get them in a boat.
Yeah,
So I
I'm gonna
feel-
say consider past experiences and analyze an individual's inner world is wrong.
You got it, girl. Who's ready? Who's ready May 17th? That's Mickey.
I mean, because I wouldn't have got that.
The person and
If I have
environment.
all y'all to help me, I'll be there. I'll be good to go.
Our brains
Listen,
together.
I've been licensed for a lot of years and I am not doing it. Okay, 8 yes, 3 no. We got a couple left. The person environment considers people through the lens of their environment. Okay, a social worker has been called in to assist a client who has refused to ingest pills for pain due to their cultural beliefs. After the initial interview, the social worker feels that the client can benefit from what as a means to address pain management in ways that align with their beliefs. I'm sorry, the first one is healthcare disparities. Because the person can benefit from healthcare disparities, I'm going to say is a hard no. Transcultural healthcare. I don't know what that is, but that sounds lovely. Cultural awareness.
They are aware.
Cultural sensitivity.
I guess cultural sensitivity. I don't know what transcultural healthcare is.
I want to
Like,
say,
I'm trying to fill in the question. After the interview, the social worker feels the client can benefit from cultural awareness as a main means to address pain management.
Aren't they aware of their own culture and that's why they're not want to take the pill?
Maybe they're going to talk about transcultural healthcare, staying close to it since we're talking about cultural beliefs and
I'm
that-
thinking
I
transcultural
think that might be right.
healthcare, like the reservations is what pops up into my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
we got it. We got it. We're doing this. Okay. Transcultural healthcare is a way to provide care for patients. Here's what made me think that one. I know what the other 3 mean. And we're staying close to it. Culture, healthcare. Okay. As people age, they may have difficulty understanding problems logically and thinking abstractly. So we make them take tests. This is due to a decline, and we know it's not IQ. We know it's not verbal intelligence. People don't lose verbal intelligence over time. I don't know what crystallized intelligence is, but I think fluid intelligence is logically thinking abstractly. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Unlike crystallized intelligence, where information is stored in long-term memory and is fairly stable during the aging process, fluid intelligence, or the ability to understand and analyze information, declines with age. Okay, so my dad has Alzheimer's. I just went on a week-long vacation with my mom, and my daughter stayed with him. So my daughter called and she was like, he knows you guys are on vacation. He tells me the same story every night when he's washing the dishes about washing the dishes in the army in Alaska. But he asks me, where's all the ladies about 10 times an hour? That's his fluid intelligence, right? Because that's moving the day-to-day. Fixed, he's got this week, what's coming up next week, right? Because that's like stored. I got this. Okay. For now, until my fluid intelligence is gone. 14, which shows an appropriate relationship between social and criminal justice, if applicable. This is Mickey. I know she's gonna know this one. Social justice is a subset of criminal justice. Social justice and criminal justice refer to the same type of justice. There is no relationship between the two, or criminal justice is a subset of social justice. All right, I have a guess. What do we think?
Social justice.
In my mind, there's no relationship between the two.
Yeah, I think these two I'm eliminating
Yeah, no, it's like in my mind, I know that's not right, but
because they said there's a relationship. So it's not this one, and they're not the same. So do we think criminal justice is a subset, as in here's social justice and what happens in a just society of people, and with criminals are within it? Or is it criminal justice is the larger one and social justice is the subset of justice values within criminal justice values?
Criminal justice is a subset of social justice.
Social justice is right versus wrong or fair versus unfair, and criminal justice is the principles and laws applied in relations to wrongdoings or unfairness.
that's why
And
Mickey's gonna be the next instructor.
that's why Mickey's gonna be our next instructor. We're pulling for her. All right. Which of the following is a common term for evidence-based differences in health, social, and governmental benefits linked to social and economic disadvantages?
Fair.
What we got?
Disparity.
Disparities.
Mhm.
Loud and
job.
proud.
Don't even need the options.
I know, that's the social work, yes or no. We passed that one.
Okay, we did good.
Yes.
Hey,
Not bad.
Welcome to the eye.
no areas of weakness.
Mhm.
Look at how many strengths we had. Okay, so 43 minutes. It took us 43 minutes to do 15 questions, and we
Wow.
talked. We talked through them. There were a couple we buzzed through. But I like to spend, we said, was it 3 minutes per question? 2 minutes per question?
Yeah, that's
We went a little over. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for helping me with the quizzes, and we'll do more later.